Okay, I would like to call to order this regular meeting of the Palm Springs Public Arts Commission for Wednesday, March 15th, 2023. Jay, will you do a roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair, before calling roll though, I do need to correct the record to indicate that Commissioner Favreau should have been listed as a member of the Public Arts Commission on the agenda. And that Commissioner Matthew Lesniak has submitted a resignation from the Public Arts Commission. So with that, I will call roll. Commissioner Pritchard.
Present.
Commissioner Armstrong.
Present.
Commissioner Newkirk.
Present.
And I'm going to let Commissioner Favreau in right now.
Okay.
Commissioner Favreau, we are doing roll call. Would you please indicate your presence?
I am here. I am present.
Thank you. We have all members present, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll move on to item C, presentation from Desert X Billboard Project, Tyree Nichols, Jenny Gill, or Mara Gladstone. Neither are present. No. All right, then we will go on to acceptance of the agenda. I wanted to move items F and G to under H. And we will be tabling H2 and H3. So I have a motion to accept the agenda as amended.
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda with those amendments. I second.
Can we also, I believe at the top of the agenda with the commissioners present, will that be changed?
Yes, Jay addressed that just before you came in.
Okay, good. I was having difficulty getting on. Thank you.
We've written you in. Okay, we'll move on. Sorry, we'll move on to item E, just public comment. This time has been set aside for members of the public to address the Public Arts Commission on items of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission, and agenda items that the member of the public cannot be present later in the meeting when the item is heard by the commission. Additionally, members of the public may address the commission on each item listed on the posted agenda at the time each item is heard. Although the Public Arts Commission values your comment pursuant to the Brown Act, it generally cannot take any actions on an item listed on the agenda. 3 minutes are assigned to each speaker.
Mr. Chair, can we get a vote on acceptance of the agenda before moving on to public comment?
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that part. All in favor of the agenda as amended?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I'm not going to reread the comment thing. All right, I see we have a couple of members in our audience.
Yes, Richard, I believe you were first. If you could come to the microphone and state your name for the record, and you will have 3 minutes.
Okay, hi, I'm Richard Noble, and is that it?
Just 3 minutes, yeah.
Oh, my name, I mean.
Yeah, is that on? Green?
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, hi, I'm Richard Noble. So I don't know if you know, in 2011 and 2012, I walked the rainbow flag across America and made history in which the Obama administration was really nice thing to do for our community after years of suffering, and especially for the youth that were committing suicide in record numbers during those times. I talked to Jenny Fellow, and I was the original person that interviewed all the businesses on Arenas about having rainbow sidewalks. And then I noticed the rainbow sidewalks around the country and how shabby they look after a while. And some of them very quickly, sometimes very slowly. So I wanted to do like this campaign to bring in artists from all across the country to be able to capture colors in this kind of environment. And I'll get on the calendar to do a better presentation. But I met with Karen and Tony Baroni yesterday. And for they miraculously had, these images here, which would be, March for Equality. And you can see in the other image, they're actually 10 foot tall, so they're actually really, really big. And so there'd be actually 5 images for LGBTQ and then a dog. And the rainbow flag would be in the colors of the rainbow flag, and the whole piece would be March for Equality. I'm just dropping the seed in your ears today and doing an introduction, and hope it's not my last of introductions. But I know that Karen and Tony are super excited, and these are iconic images all throughout the Coachella Valley. And I'd like to maybe communicate with you on record or however, of how to proceed with this kind of a project. And I know they're excited about it, I am too, and I think it's something that would be really great for the Plum Springs.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I knew that you looked familiar, and I sort of, now that you looked march across the country,
Yeah,
I got the connection.
there you go.
All right, so do you anticipate or see this as being placed somewhere within the Arenas neighborhood, or?
I was thinking maybe St. Francis Stevens Park, since it's sort of a park of activism, that's always where the rallies are. But certainly, I don't know how city planning works. There may be other ideas people have. We thought about arenas, and the engineering of that overwhelmed them.
Mhm.
So I thought, let's bring it back to, we were gonna do a rainbow. And it's just, they had this actually all set. This is cost 15 grand, but
Yeah.
they
Well-
graciously gave it to us to,
Well, actually, a few years ago, I wanted to do a rainbow across the entire street,
you did,
which was a Desert X installation that we could have had.
right?
But my fellow commissioners at the time didn't give me the votes,
They weren't jazzed about it enough.
so it got dismantled and
Yeah.
destroyed. So,
Yeah, the rainbows have been, they talk about engineering, and it is a major feat. But these would be just a really great installation, so.
yeah, what I would like to suggest is for you to dialogue with Vice Chair Armstrong, because especially when it comes to Francis Stevens Park, because we were brewing some ideas on that. So if you care to stay to the end of the meeting, which hopefully will be fairly short, you'll hear some ideas of what we've got conceptually in our process for Francis Stevens. But of course, it doesn't rule out that you can't do this at Francis Stevens, or it can't be somewhere else in the city.
Absolutely.
But
I
we're-
know Rhonda Hart had some ideas about like an Quality Park with a big rainbow. I'm not sure where he's at with all those ideas, but it might be nice to chat with a couple council members on this idea to see where their heart lies.
Yeah, I'll just say one thing and then Gary can jump in. Yeah, we're sort of considering that Francis Stevens Park should be our social issues park.
Wonderful.
So that's what we're about. So,
Well, I'll stick around.
I actually want to, and again, I know we can't deal with specific things here. I would just say, we have a major initiative that's going to be happening in the city that this could be an interesting part of. It'll be not in Francis Stevens, but it'll be somewhere else, and it'll be a series of pieces along this scale.
Okay,
And then we have one other piece I'll be addressing at the end of my thing tonight, which is intended to be in Francis Stevens Park, celebrating the contributions of LGBTQ and their allies in achieving and attempting to achieve equality in Palm Springs.
yeah,
So I'll be talking about that, and
exciting.
Ron is very aware of this project.
Oh, good, good.
So there's
Everything
a lot of
seems like the timing
opportunities.
of all this is so
Yeah.
good. And I know Tony and Karen were doing somersaults. They're like, wow, you came to this with this idea. Scott Hines actually was a big push behind this as well. And if you remember Scott,
mhm,
which I'm sure you do. So,
cool.
well, thanks.
Stick around.
I'll stick around.
All right. And our other member of the audience, you care to address us?
I will identify myself, but I'm just here as an observer today.
Okay,
Yeah, so I'm Joy Silver and I'm just an observer today.
oh, okay, yes. We will be meeting hopefully next week.
I hope so.
Okay, cool. Do we have any zoomed in public comments, Jay?
No other public speakers, Mr. Chair.
All right, then I'll close public comment. And we'll move on to item H, items for discussion and approval. Excuse me. And number one on that list is discuss and approve a budget of $25,000 to sponsor the Desert X / Tyree Nichols billboard project, photo project, pardon me, on Gene Autry billboards. This installation is currently in place. Hopefully our fellow commissioners have had a chance to drive by and see them. I was hoping that Jenny or Mara would be here just to find out how they were able to get in touch with the family. But they did, and the family is receiving X amount of money from, the 25,000 is the complete budget for the project. And I propose that we, as the Palm Springs Public Arts Commission, be the full sponsors. And Desert X has already been gracious enough to actually put that on their website that we are, which is sort of a leap of faith, but anyway, everyone knows the story of Tyree Nichols. Everybody probably doesn't know that he was an amateur photographer. And I was very impressed with the photos. They look spectacular on the billboards. They're spectacular in smaller size. I think it's an outstanding project that we should lend our support to. Commissioners, do you have any comments?
Would this mean that the billboards would stay up beyond the duration of Desert X?
No, they would still be just the period of Desert X, unless, as we've done in the past, we could decide we'd have to decide in our April meeting if we wanted to make arrangements, because we have, clearly Desert X rents the billboards, so we would have to accommodate the extended thing, which we've done with from 21, we did the horses and the wishing well at JOJ. So that's certainly something we could address in April. Because of course, this needs to go through council approval, so. Commissioner Armstrong?
I think. I like it. I like the fact that it is sort of in your face media that's unexpected. And as far as I know, it hasn't received a complaint from Riverside County that they didn't permit it properly. So that's always a bonus with Desert X.
Yeah, you saw that other one?
Yeah.
You know, one thing I would consider us to do, if we decided to, number one, approve this and extend it, is to actually look into doing a billboard that would explain what these photos are. Granted, everybody's driving by at a fairly fast pace, but we who are in the know what it is, but it would be nice if more people would.
And that's an opportunity for us to use our Instagram account to promote it that way as well.
So would we like to entertain a motion to?
Mr. Chair, if I may, the last time we supported Desert X project, our city council raised several concerns about their association with, I believe, Saudi Arabia. And so just to make sure you are aware of that. But you also mentioned the family has been contacted, and I think I'd like to know if, but the council would like to know if the contribution would be going to Desert X or to the family of Tyree Nichols, or how that might be divided. And I think they want to have that under consideration, because they have approved art projects associated with Desert X, but their preference was the payments would go to the artist.
Right. Yeah, that's one reason I was hoping that Mara or Jenny would be here to get the actual breakdown of what would go where, and we could get that prior to it going to council.
Can we approve it on the condition that it goes to the family?
Well, there's a portion, it is going to the family, because I've had a conversation with Jenny Gill. I just don't know what the breakdown is. Because there's certainly the cost of producing the photographs, rental of the billboards. If the budget is 25, that's probably 5 to 7.5. So I would expect the family's probably getting about 15. Just so my.
Thank you. I think that would help.
Yeah.
And we can explain that. The other issue is, I think the council may not have wanted to be on the website for Desert X. So that maybe that is a subject to city council approval also to be listed as a contributor for Desert X.
So to clarify, city council doesn't want to be on the website? Because
That's my recollection from 2 years ago when they did not want to support
right, because
Desert X.
on the listing currently with the Bill project, they are not, but we are.
The Public Arts
It's
Commission.
listed as sponsored by the Palm Springs Public Arts
I
Commission.
see. Okay, okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. The Public Arts Commission is a part of the city. as
Right.
you know.
Yeah, I totally get that, but in conversations that I've had with Jenny Gill before we decided to bring this forward, she has had conversations with some of the new council members. And they're perhaps a little bit more
Exactly.
thinking forward.
Yeah,
Forward
you know,
thinking.
that's what I was gonna say, is I think that, you know, council shifts and council changes just as our society is shifting and changing.
Absolutely.
And their perception may change as well.
Yeah.
And all we can do is ask.
And I think supporting this particular project is a very good place for them to shift their thinking.
And I think we all can agree that these billboards are beautiful and they're non-confrontational. There's nothing really too controversial about them.
Understood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Commissioner Favo, do you have any comments or questions?
Yes, my concern is definitely how much of the monies go to the family. I'm very much concerned of the exploitation of Black artists in this way. And I just want to make sure that the families do get some of the money, and that after the billboards, that at least maybe one or more of the prints actually has another life of permanence if we can get a print of it. So it's not something that goes away after a time. As you know, I do have certain reservations about the George Floyd mural, and here we are again with another instance along those lines. So I just really want the council to be aware of how are we supporting art, and how are we supporting Black art, and how are we protecting Black bodies.
Okay. So I will make a motion then. I would like to make a motion that we approve budget of $25,000 to sponsor the Desert X / Tyree Nichols billboard photo project on Gene Autry billboards.
a second.
Jay, do you want to do a roll call?
Yes. Chair Pritchard,
Yes.
Vice Chair Armstrong,
Yes,
Commissioner Newkirk,
Yes,
Commissioner Favo.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you. All right, so now we will move on to item F.
Mr. Chair, oh, thank you. Okay, moved to H.
Right.
Thank you.
Although we convinced our audience to stay until the end, we might not have wanted to do that. So I was trying to avoid, or not avoid, but
Yeah.
not inflict the conversation of our budget upon our audience. But so anyway. All right, so my comments were going to be just in general talking about our budget, and Jay sent out to you this afternoon a printout of what we have and what we've expended. I don't know, Jay, do you want to walk us through this, or should we do it mutually? Because there's some items on here which are
Right.
current expenditures, but there are a couple of things that aren't specifically.
Yes, I believe some of these have already been paid. For example, WOW, I know a portion has already been paid to the artist, but reinstallation costs for that remain. Popsicles, I believe, has already been paid to the artist,
It has.
and
Yeah, we're just going on the first page. Yeah, wow, the artist Majabi is still actually waiting for payment, because the pad is now been prepped and ready for the installation, but he's not received any payment. Number one on our list is the Wyatt mural. Has that gone to contract with Richard Wyatt? Is that sort of,
no contract yet. I have requested assistance from the city attorney, as we discussed at our last meeting, to determine what capacity the artist Richard Wyatt needs to participate in the project for it to still be considered under that contract that was approved by the Arts Commission and the City Council.
right? Yeah, so just for our understanding, this 286 is sort of a floating number at the moment. It's not a hard,
That was the proposed budget
right?
for the Richard Wyatt mural, and it's what is included in the draft agreement.
But in the draft agreement, if he's not able to do a fairly full participation, then it should be perhaps looked at to be amended.
Well, that's the question
Yeah.
that we're waiting for an answer from the city attorney.
And then the asphalt art project is one that we have approved and city council did approve, but with some slight reservations, because we know the history of things painted on asphalt, especially as the Rainbow Crosswalk has had its issues. We've engaged Tyson Knight to be a part of this project, and he's done initial research with Dun & Edwards Corporate. So is fairly confident he has paints, they have paints that will last a very long time. But part of this whole thing was this is going to be a test pilot project for the whole asphalt art project. And I don't really see us moving forward with any asphalt art project in the immediate future. So I'm thinking that I'd like this to be something that we could consider having being removed from our budget. So if that could be circled as something that could come back into our general fund. And if so, how would we do that? Do we have to make a vote on it, or can we just simply not do it?
I believe we'd have to make a vote on it because it has been approved by the commission and has been approved by the city council.
All right, so that's an item that we could possibly have on our April agenda to see if we decide as a commission that we want to move forward with that. Nodding in agreement. Armstrong, do you have any?
Well, I think there's a lot of items on here that I don't know why they're on here.
Mhm. Well, that's why I just
It's
want to sort of,
allocated this way. like
Yeah.
Intersecting cubes,
well, that's why I thought it just.
find where it is.
Yeah, let's just start at the top and we'll work our way through in that way. Because we're waiting for crawler, which we've approved to go to council.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
On the
which one?
first page, crawler, which is the Ryan Campbell
Oh, correct,
installation,
correct,
because you do not assign a date that's not going to council on 3/23.
correct.
So that's to be determined for council date.
You need to determine.
And then pillars is still not assigned to go to council. So that's also to be determined. Right. And then the next two, Demuth and Old Las Palmas. Demuth, you have 6,500 and Old Las Palmas, you have 5. Both of these, the $5,000 for each of these two grants was approved, I believe, in our 21-22 budget. Because we approved doing 5 community grants, each of 5,000. So the only thing going to council should be Demuth 1,500 for support and painting the benches and picnic tables with Tyson Knight.
These will each require a separate contract, and my understanding is both the funds and the contract do have to be approved by city council.
But the budget was from last term.
Right. So the 10,000 of this should not be out of our 22-23 budget.
The 22-23 budget includes carryover from the 21-22 budget. It's all one budget.
Okay. All right, so those are pull amounts. Great.
Okay.
All right, Clement is clear. Tyson's contract's been approved. Chocolate's been approved. What's actually happening? Is that this weekend? Chocolate Festival, I believe so. Or next.
Next weekend, Matthew was,
Yeah, it's coming up and it would
yeah.
approved. Fossils is done. Philip K. Smith is done. Black History Month is done. Now, what about the 2 RFPs that were sort of
Those
firmly,
are both TBD.
right, but these, I just want to address the specific requests because they were sort of strongly suggested to the Arts Commission that we vote on and approve a $25,000 RFP for art evaluation and then a separate one for art maintenance. Are these things that we need to move forward to? or with? Does the current city council want these? Because it sort of came from the previous one. And the other question is, under the RFP for maintenance, is it not possible, as we've done with the repair for the golfer, we just did a separate approval budget of $895 for Signature Sculpture, with whom we currently have under contract?
Mhm.
Can they not just simply, if we find something that's damaged beyond their scope of maintenance, have them give us a bill for it, being that they were the only people that replied to the
So-
RFP?
This particular item, Mr. Chair, was to avoid having to do shorter term contracts with who Tyson has been doing quick fix repaintings of damage and graffiti to artwork. And so as we discussed at that one meeting, we do a longer term, do an RFP to get one, maybe two organizations on board who do that service that we could call on to do as any type of vandalism or damage. happens
Okay,
to
right.
existing artwork.
Right, okay, I get the clarification. So situation that I just mentioned with the golfer and Signature Sculpture, it was actually more of a specific thing that needed to be done to that.
Well, there may be
Piece.
overlap, but Signature Sculpture was working on and cleaning. Chairman of the Lanes developer when they discovered it, and so they wanted to address it with it.
All right. What about the art evaluation RFP?
Well, that is something that was requested by the former council, but it's still city council and I believe it would be a good practice to have some type of professional available to the commission to value artwork as we approve them and request allocations of funding for them, and definitely the council did request that, the previous council, which is still the city council. So I think that would stay on.
All right, so those are still current. Signature Sculpture is in place. Chairman of the Links has been approved. Any determination of when the pre-approved Desert X little C big heart is going to go to council?
I'm sorry, that should have said city. Actually, no, I don't know. It's being routed, but I don't know if it's gonna get picked up, when it would be picked up for city council.
Well, it would make sense now that we've approved the Desert X billboard that they get assigned it for the same council meeting.
I
Perhaps
will bring that up.
to be determined. And eliminate PS.
TBD.
Lawn chair.
That is also TBD.
And intersecting cubes, we tabled that, so we're not actively pursuing that at the moment. So that 8,500 can be deleted.
Okay.
And then you have 20,000 under pinwheel, that's actually a donation.
Oh, okay.
And the outreach supplies, which is to go to council on 3/23, was actually for the one PS picnic, which is on 3/25. So Councilmember Dukirk has advised me that we can't do it because we didn't get the funds in time, because the funds required are for things to give out and have the booth.
So I was working with Commissioner Lesniak on that, and yeah, we weren't able to move on it until we had council approval. But I was gonna bring up later because it's on the agenda, if we wanted to use those funds for outreach at the World Art Day event at Demuth Park on April 15th, which I think we've sort of unofficially said we wanted to participate in, and I've talked with Shane about that, but we could just move those funds to a different event. Would that change our Would we need another vote or would that change what goes to council?
That's what it does.
No, it was, no, I think the request was for outreach materials and, shade structure and.
Correct, yeah.
Maybe some giveaways, which are. Any.
Yeah,
any
they're
of
not
the-
specific to any one event, so, okay. Cause you've got those lined up to go to council on 323, so then we
Yes.
could use them, then we can.
That actually works out fine.
It actually gives us time to
Yeah.
get the ingredients. Okay, so that will stay. All right. So bottom line, Jay, how much did we have? How much did we spend?
You know what, I don't have this spreadsheet here. I would have to take some time to do that calculation, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
But it looks like we removed 20,000. Yeah, I didn't set this up that way,
Yeah.
so. I'll have to let the commission know the revised total on this.
Yeah, because I guess I was being optimistic when I was looking at the numbers this afternoon and sort of hopeful that. The RFPs could go away, asphalt could go away and. And some reconsideration of the wide mural. So operating from a starting point of 1.2, which we were advised. Late last year that that's where we were starting. We basically spent $1,081,671, but then we lost. 375 to the Wintech issue. So. Oh, pardon me, we had spent 995 and then. But anyway, I came up that we were first overdrawn and then if we removed. The wide mural, the asphalt and the 2 RFPs. We got back into the black by 103,000.
Yes, and that is assuming the starting point is 1.2 million.
Right.
It may be more, so that's what we would have to get more information on.
And as well, certain items that you said we must have, like the art evaluation. We're not using $25,000 worth of evaluation time this year. So wouldn't that be amortized over a certain period of the calendar?
We're doing 3-year contracts.
So then that's, why do we pay $25,000 for something that basically will be used for 6 months and, you know, shouldn't it go into other budget years as well?
Well, if it rolls over as the,
Right, I think. I don't see this as being fiscal year 23. This is everything. So this is as of say March 15th, what we understand to be available resources in the budget and even out of the budget, but resources received that were unanticipated. And then what are the upcoming costs that haven't been paid yet?
Yeah.
So just accounting for all those and, you know, I think what you're saying is, can we rely on future revenue to pay for some of these because they will be future expenditures, and that's a great point. We don't know what those future revenues would be, but if we take 1.2 million as a starting point, all these projects we've allocated here, and then add, say, 480,000 for next year, which seems to be the number that's been added in past years. So it's just a rough number, maybe more, maybe less. Then we're looking at 1.6 million as a starting point for this year and next year for the 2 years. And I should mention, our new city manager let us know we will be going to a 2-year budget. So not exactly sure how that impacts this process here, other than there will probably be 2 years of budget resources estimated for the upcoming budget.
Okay, that changes things.
But the second year of resources will not be available until the year 2.
Okay.
So,
Then the last question I have, and I know this is part of you said the number's the number. So we have a lot of projects that have been happening since before I joined the commission. the utility boxes, the benches, all these things that had money allocated. Not all of that money has been utilized. So is that leftover money just sitting there, or is it rolled into this number? And there may be other projects I'm unaware of that are still sort of hanging out there.
But no, actually, the only one that's still sort of ongoing is Shonda's utility box project, and she's sort of up on the agenda to talk about those, but could jump in now if you've done an accounting recently with Cindy to know what we have left from the original allocation. When we last did an accounting, which was now probably 6 months ago, I think there was, from memory, 28,000 left,
Yeah.
and you've cranked out a bunch of benches, so maybe you've spent the budget.
No, I haven't. I haven't spent the budget yet. There's approximately $10,000 still in that I'll be using in order to finish the project. But the last weekend, that was only $5,000 spent, and the last budget that Cindy and Russell and I went over, we were at 14, and then I just spent 5, so we're approximately at 10.
Right, so yeah, so it's a fairly minimal number, and we've got more more boxes lined up, and that will be completing the project.
And the project is ongoing. I have artists this weekend and next weekend actively painting boxes, and hopefully more will go out, and I'll be able to spend the whole 10 grand. But right
Yeah.
now, that's what's happening.
And just clarify, I want to spend the money. I just don't want it to be hidden somewhere that the finance department hasn't told us about. I want to know all the money that we have at our disposal.
Well, I mean, from what I understand, that 10,000, like that is a very pertinent question. Like, is that in that number, or has that number been taken out and like a reserve that we're not going over?
It should be included in this list.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just realized the utility boxes are on the list.
And we've tapped out our benches budget. There's no
Oh,
money
that's
sitting
done.
anywhere.
It's done.
That's completely gone.
Yep.
Okay.
Russell.
We spent every penny.
No, I just want to verify.
We paid like 65 benches.
Yeah, but
Yeah, that's spent, so. But moving forward for the next couple of months, we do have access, so we can approve things like I tabled the Madavi nothing installation, which is 43.5, so we can move forward with other projects.
Well, you're doing what's perfect, actually kind of determining what the available budget may be and then looking at future projects. So I think that analysis will determine if you have funds to commit to doing a project, or if you just like to pursue a project when funds are
Right.
available.
But we could commit to doing a project which is going to happen basically right away, as opposed to, as we have in the budget, $300,000 for the pillars of Palm Springs. None of that money is going to be spent probably for 6 months, so it'll,
probably 5 months, 4 to 5 months. They may be.
yeah, but it'll roll into fiscal 23, 24.
Right.
So,
Right.
so it's sort of sitting there, so we could spend.
But if we have a 2-year budget now, we need to allocate the money now, so. We know we're not
Well,
gonna,
it's 2-year budget, but 1 year of revenue at a time.
Right.
1 year of resources at a time. So, because we will budget in anticipation of resources for next year, and then in anticipation of resources for the following year. So really, the only advantage there is that what you can see is if you don't spend it in year one, you will see it spent out or able to be allocated in year 2, as opposed to just being a line that says unallocated or something.
okay, and I don't want to go too deep in this until we have a budget, but theoretically, we've approved, and I'm gonna use this, I know there's concerns, $20,000 for asphalt art. What if we do proceed and we only spend 15? Do we get that money back to reallocate?
Yes,
But yeah, because we don't
Commissioner,
spend it.
this is what you work with is the public art fund. It is
Okay.
apart and separate from the city's general fund.
Okay.
So if it's not spent, it remains in the public art fund.
Final budget question for you.
Sure.
Is there anything in the city's general fund that we can tap into that we have not tapped into?
That's a question for city council. It may be possible, if you have a project that
Yeah.
is sizable, it is artistic and within the purview of the Public Arts Commission, or perhaps a joint project with another commission. It's
Excellent.
something they can do. with us.
Excellent.
For
Good, good
for
to know.
example, the Pillars of
Yeah.
Palm Springs,
Or the Francis Stevens.
Francis Stevens, of course.
Good, thank you, Jay.
Yeah. Yeah, the only other question is, we do have monies that come out of our budget that don't appear on this list, but they appeared on the spreadsheet that you sent previously, which is on the small one,
Right.
like the 50,000, which we paid at the museum for the free nights, and then all these other little,
That should be on here too, Mr.
What not?
Chair.
so that, those numbers probably add up to what, maybe about 100,000.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Now, some of those are these projects. We don't have a line item for every single one of these projects. They may go through something called contractual services, or they may go through something called art acquisition, and they are just summed up in the line items that we have in our system, our budget
Right.
system. But here for us, we are itemizing the details separately and outside of the system.
Mhm.
But when they go to city council for approval and are budgeted and are contracted, they will be drawn from one of those accounts that we have that are existing.
Yeah, and my understanding is those numbers, that allotments are sort of fluid. To a certain degree, except for perhaps the 50,000 for the museum.
Well, fluid, just in this, in the sense that it may cost less than what was anticipated, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
And the balance would remain in the public arts fund and roll over to just remain in the balance.
Right. All right, I feel like it's fairly, I mean, we don't know the specific numbers, but comfort knowing that we're sort of. Not overspending or underspending, we're sort of in line with what we have, I think, and what we'll have in the future.
I personally think what we're doing is very cautious allocation. And if anything, we're overspending on community outreach. We're being very gracious with that, which is really what we should be doing. So.
While we're talking about the money, I wanted to bring up the idea again of renewing the contract for marketing, website, social media support, and if we think that there's available funds for that. Because I think the help is greatly needed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an unfortunate situation, because we've tried to push for that over the last just. Few months to try to at least get a 6-month. Contract with someone like Madalena. In the interim, while the city actually hires a social media web person. And it was sort of aimed to be on the agenda, and I thought it was, but the printout today it wasn't. Because Commissioner Lesniak had sent the information prior with the $9,000 request for Madalena's contract.
I would have to double check. We didn't talk about that at the prior meeting.
No, so,
Okay.
so perhaps you could just get a read from city manager's office, being that we do not, we being the city does not have. In place someone to manage our website or any social media.
Mhm.
Would they be agreeable to us doing a short-term contract, 6 months? Because actually the contract that I thought was going to be in the agenda was going to be May 1 through the end of
Okay.
whatever, so October 31st.
And I have initiated those discussions. I just don't think I have a final answer yet from the staff that are working on that, so.
Yeah, because if it seems like, because it's just sort of, because I think we did the same thing, we're actually currently doing the same thing with Tyson Knight. We approved the $5,000 contract, we are doing the RFP for the maintenance. So we should, it's basically apples and oranges, so we should be able to do the same thing. No comments?
There was a specific plan for the social media, webpage that was requested by council about a year ago. And that's what I'm trying to get the status on is to, are we bringing on staff, city staff who would do these types of things? So, yeah, and also the question of the web page would probably be, there were requirements for the web page because it is part of a public organization. So it has to be able to be flashed every night so we could keep track of what's on the web page. So that would have to be under city control to get there. And it may be possible through a link to the existing web page.
There is.
Okay,
There is a link on the Public Arts City page. It
Mhm.
links to that page.
right. And I think it's been that way for a while now.
Yeah, so it's connected.
Yeah.
So.
Let's break that up. Anyway. Okay, so I think that sort of wraps up. My part of the remarks was just to sort of hash out a little bit of the budget issues. So we'll move on to item G, remarks from our vice chair, Chair Armstrong.
Okay. Like most of the commission, I was unhappy with the last city council meeting. And Jay, you're gonna feel the brunt of this because you're city staff and you're sitting here, and I know it's not all you. When I was sworn in as a commissioner by Anthony, he said specifically, only make decisions on what's in front of you or in the room. He actually quoted at the time Mayor Christie Volstage. They said, make decisions on what's in front of you or in the room. And I said, I will. And yet, when we had our meeting with WinTech, our last commission meeting, even if we loved the project, we had to say no, because it violated so many of our ordinances. There was no way we could approve that based on the information we had in front of us. It was the idea of being available to public 18 hours, the distance from where it originally was, the distance from the location, the payment plan, all of that is counter to our ordinance. So we had to say no. And yet somehow city staff set us up. We were set up to fail with that. We did not get enough information. And yet we received, subsequently, Russell and I received an email from WinTech after city council voted, and he gave much more creative direction than we ever had. City council was very supportive. And as I said, I've received personal emails from city council members saying how bad they felt. And I understood why they voted the way they did. But we're an advisory role to city council. I said that in the meeting. We make a recommendation based on what we have in front of us. And I don't fault WinTech, because if I were in his position, I would fight too. I'd fight for what I wanted. I have to fault city staff because they were the ones who did not support the system. And what's happened now is anybody else watching is going to be able to do the same thing. The system is irreparably changed because he's shown how to do it. So there was documents there that were false. We never received that letter. We never received a letter on that date. And it wasn't addressed in the report. And I still don't know why it was rushed. No one even addressed that. And for something that's supposed to be celebrating natural energy, where was sustainability? Why wasn't sustainability involved in that? You know, and if this is supposed to be, as Council Member Middleton said, this should be a big thing to celebrate. I agree, but it deserved more attention from all the stakeholders to create it and celebrate it. So I just feel let down. And I think that we're all volunteers here. And I know you don't get paid to stay late and do all this. So it's unfortunate. And for something that should be celebrated, the headline was City Council overturns our commission, which does not do anybody any good. And as I said, it only makes city staff look bad. So that's my message.
Yeah, and I will just add one note to that, because I sort of fought back when this was brought to us to be on our February agenda, which at that time was rather full. So we pulled a couple of things from the February agenda, and I specifically said I wanted it to be on the March agenda, so we would have more time to consider it. And it was, the response was basically, no, it must be on February. So again, to the fact that there wasn't enough information for it to be in February, had we been allowed more time, we could have had a thoughtful and perhaps a different outcome.
Appreciate your comments.
Okay, we'll move on to project updates. Shonda, we touched a little bit on your utility box ARPA project, so do you want to? Well, first I want to say I'm absolutely loving the last batch of boxes, well, like all of the boxes, but it's so fun to drive by a corner and I've run into a couple of artists actually painting, so I've stopped and engaged with them. It's a super job, it's just so fun and happy.
That's why I came on the commission to bring happiness to the city of Palm Springs, and the city of Palm Springs reluctantly wants to be happy, and I'm gonna force happiness down the throats of the city of Palm Springs. So I'm really happy that you all are happy with the boxes. There are more little happy boxes that will be popping up throughout the city. I still have approximately $10,000 and a number of boxes still to paint around the city. I appreciate all the submissions from all the artists and my fellow commissioners also supplying me with artists. And I'm hoping that that project will continue being the happy little pedestrian pieces of joy that I intended it to be for the city to really enjoy. So I've got a couple of efforts happening. There was one box that I was not able to get a hold of the artist, and the artist did not return any of my calls. I don't know what happened to this particular artist. But then I had another artist revision that box, and I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on that box, and we'll just continue doing little happy traffic stops in the name of love.
Very good. Thank you, Shonda. Next item on under the agenda is the update on, you were going to give us some information on Juneteenth project.
Yes, with the
Did-
Juneteenth project.
Sorry,
Oh,
just let me
sorry.
interrupt a second. Did the information come to you? Because I don't think it came out to the, in our packages, did it?
I didn't see anything.
I don't recall seeing
Okay.
Juneteenth information.
Yeah, because I had received some from Shonda and then requested a little bit more information. So this is a sort of a preliminary for something that will come to us probably in April.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because when I brought you that, you wanted names of artists attached to it. So I am getting those artists, and I'm also looking for to my fellow commissioners to see what other artists that they would recommend that would be a part of the Juneteenth celebration. And I have some artists that have told me that they wanted to be a part of it. From what I'm understanding right now, the Juneteenth committee is still getting the details together, but I believe that event may be shifted from day to night, which will give us a different kind of feel, and we may be able to get more of the art commission involved in order to celebrate this particular event. So as soon as I get that information from them, I will bring it to the commission next month. And hopefully I'll have it by then. So then we'll be able to know what artists, how many artists, and exactly how much allocation. I don't believe the amount will be as high as it was first proposed because we're going to do less artists, and because the venue has changed from outside to indoors, so there's less room. So I'm right now I'm looking for 10 to 20 artists to participate if we can, get that many people to participate.
And just a couple of words on sort of the overall viewpoint of the budget and the operation, because you had mentioned in the information you sent me, something with some tables and displays, and then a separate artist working on projects. So just for the sake of the other commissioners who haven't seen that. And we could, I could have Jay send that out just so they have the first interpretation of the direction prior to our April meeting, but just a little bit more of an understanding of what the event may involve.
Yeah, what I sent to you, was a preliminary pass. The Juneteenth committee is still meeting in order to dot the i's and cross the t's on that. And I'll get more information to the commission when it's available.
Right, so would you like what you sent to me, would you like that to go to the commissioners now, or should we just wait until there's a little bit more hashed out plan?
I would like to wait a little bit because in that allocation, I was looking for 50 artists. And because the venue is changing, I'm going to have to downsize how many artists, and I have to figure out, as well as the Juneteenth Commission has to figure out how much room we have to put the tables because the venue will be smaller.
Right, and but you will have it for our April agenda, you think?
I hope so, because I really don't want it to go under the wire like it did last time.
Right.
I really want to give the commission and city council enough time to really be able to actively participate and enjoy and to know what those monies are being allocated to and to get excited about the event so they can show up.
Yeah, perfect, all right, thanks, Shonda. Okay, we'll move on to item number 3, advocacy tablets, Commissioner Newford.
Yes, so this is the vision that we have for Francis Stevens Park. I don't know, Jay, if you can, are you able to share the renderings that I passed around this afternoon so the public can see them?
Let me try.
I think
We
it's
have
just some
to-
backup information while he's.
Minimize our meeting.
Sure.
though.
Essentially, the concept that Commissioner Armstrong has been working on for a while as well is to create a space that is sort of the go-to point for any social justice related art that the community wants to do. So the idea is to create sort of an outdoor gallery space that would have a rotating collection of murals to commemorate, say, Gay Pride Month in June, Juneteenth in June, reminders to register to vote, reminders about elections, things that are topical in the news, like trans rights, perhaps. And it would be a space for that the community would know would be the place to go for pieces like that, and as opposed to us trying to find a place when an issue arises and we're wanting to put out a statement on it. So we have crafted some preliminary, just conceptual renderings to give people an idea of what it might look like. This is very unofficial and not super detailed, but just to give folks an idea of what may come.
I have to share screen first before the public can see it.
Okay. So the next steps is to get more input from Parks and the city council, and then likely do some sort of call for design proposals to get more detailed concepts and a better sense of what a project like this would cost.
Yeah.
Would those tablets be changed according to the issue or?
So the concept is there would be 3 types of messaging in Francis Stevens Park. Oh, sorry, 3 types of messaging in Francis Stevens Park. And apart from beyond this one component, there will be evergreen messaging, things like climate change, marriage equality, women's right to choose, things like that. Those could be separate pieces. Then there will be calendar issues, Black History Month, Pride, Women's Health Month, things like that. That could be, so those 8 tablets could either be individual or they could be 8 different messaging all tied to the one message. And then there will be also a component that will be for immediacy. So right now, I would probably do anti-Semitism, sporting drag, and maybe transgender violence. Things like that that are just so topical right now. We can't sort of commission somebody to do something in 3 or 4 months. We need to get that message out right now. So that's the idea for these tablets and the advocacy. And the reason why we chose Francis Stevens, as you mentioned, coincidentally, is that's where every rally, every parade, every march starts there.
Yeah.
So. And what I like about these squares is it's also very much Instagram. It's sort of that Instagram meme shape, so they could work in that way as well. So. Okay.
Anything else?
Okay.
One other question, please. So then would you have a list of artists that you would, the immediacy piece, you would just contact and say, here's the raining issue that needs to go up, who has the availability to get this up in 3 days? I mean, is that
Yeah.
how you would?
Yeah, and again, this would not be graffiti.
Right,
It would be planned and the visual would be pre-approved by the Arts Commission. We would call an emergency meeting, get it done, and I imagine the city manager would prove it, so it's not too out there. We've shown that we can prove things within 24 hours if we need to, so we would set up a system in place to ensure that it's not anything too offensive.
Yeah. Yeah, because one of the components that we sort of got sidetracked from in our ordinance, it says we as the Arts Commission can approve up to 25,000 without council approval. Working on getting that back into place. So when we have a social issue item like this, that we're going to expand maybe 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000. Our approval is immediate, just go straight to city manager, it's done. So we meet that time constraint for immediacy. So, yeah, this is something we've been discussing for the last few months, so it's now Commissioner Armstrong and Newkirk will take it through Breckham Park and human rights, and we'll sort of get everybody's input and then create the vision and the budget.
Yeah. And as Commissioner Newkirk said, that the configuration, the shape may change. This is just for a placeholder.
So
All right.
if something's come up and I need the park, do I come to you or do I still go to parks?
So what was the
Like
question?
if an issue came up on that, would we go to you or would we go to parks to save the space of the park?
Arts.
Park?
Yeah, come to us first.
Good, good.
Yeah, because Gary is currently liaison with the Park and Recs Commission, so
Okay.
we would handle that. Perfect. All right, let's move on to number 4, which is probably its mute thing right now. 1 PS.
Only that if another commissioner would like to also help with the World Art Day, Art at Night Park event, I could use the help.
I can probably help you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Armstrong.
Okay. I have one other item to address too.
Okay, Commissioner Armstrong.
There is an upcoming piece of art that will be commissioned. And this is with the under the PS Pride is involved with this. And this was initiated with current Councilman Ron DeHart. And it will be a piece of art that we're thinking will be in Francis Stevens Park that will be celebrating the LGBTQ plus community and all of their allies and what they did to bring Palm Springs the sense of equality. This will be a big ticket item that will be proposed, and we will not be paying for it. This will be publicly funded, or the public will donate money to it, or it will be privately funded, I guess is the right way to phrase it.
Private public.
Yeah, so the arts involvement will be, they would like us to send out the RFP. And then they would like us to judge the finalists in conjunction with their board and with the Adam from the art gallery. And then it will be created and placed and put and look wonderful. And this will all be done in time for the 40th anniversary of PS Pride, which is 2025. So this will be a big initiative. They know it's going to be a year and a half, 2 years to get it funded, get it created. Don't know the form, don't know the exact location. That's all as part of the RFP process. there will be some recommendations, and then the artists responding to that will come back with their ideas of how they see it. There's opportunity to do something interesting with light and with placement, and it could be something on the road, it could be projections, there's many opportunities. And as I said, I'm just addressing this because we will be involved in sending out the RFP, helping solicit and judge. And then they will be funding it. And then once they get that feel of what it is, they may come to us, much like with the A's Memorial, and say, can you contribute financially? And we'll determine once we know what exactly is what's appropriate. That might be interesting.
Cool and groovy. All right, let's move on to item J, or item J. Well, J is
Item J.
Item Measure J.
reports from staff.
No reports. I believe we've already discussed these items. Thank you.
And thank you for the help with the budget and sort of helping us get a handle on that. All right, could I have a motion to adjourn?
Oh, I have
Really
a quick question.
Oh,
I'm not sure if I missed it or not. The sidewalk, not the sidewalk, the Chalk Art Festival, how was that addressed? Is that still going on?
It's- It is this Saturday, actually. I just found out. And
And-
Commissioner Lesniak was leading that, so
Are
if
we,
you're
go-
around,
are we going to, as a commission, are we gonna pick up that ball? How is that being handled? Because didn't we vote and go into agreement with that that?
well, the agreement, Sean, is we've given them financial support.
Okay,
And last year, they requested that a couple of us do the art judging. This year, that request didn't come through. I sort of dropped the ball. I was supposed to get in touch with them to see if they wanted judges. So perhaps Commissioner Newkirk, would you like to do that?
I don't think I'm available.
No, I'm not available. And Shonda, are you in town this weekend?
I could be, but I'm not sure because I have an electrician working right now, so I'm not sure if I'll be sequestered at home dealing with electrician. But if I'm available, I will reach out to my fellow commissioner and let him know that I will be there for you. I'll let you know as soon as I know.
Okay,
and then we'll know.
all right. Very good, all right. So back to the adjournment, or is there something else?
I was just gonna ask, what's going on with the HIV/AIDS memorial in the downtown park? Is that just moving along?
Yeah, they're still actively doing their fundraising.
Okay.
Yeah,
I imagine it will be pushed back.
Yeah.
The installation.
they're probably 2025.
That'd be a nice coinciding with Pride for 2025 too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Commissioner Newkirk, did you want to do a motion to adjourn?
Oh. Yes, I'll make a motion to adjourn to our next meeting on April 12th, 2023 at 5:30 PM in the large conference room at Palm Springs City Hall.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, members of the public, for coming to our meeting. It's nice to have people.
Very good.
Interesting to hear the budget anyway.
Great stuff.
It wasn't too boring.
It was not.
Good.